If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know that I'm obsessed with sound. And while I've reviewed a lot of speakers and sound bars here, I haven't done much in the way of full 5.1 audio. And so today on the review table, I have this guy. It's the Majority Everest 5.1 wireless soundbar and subwoofer with rear satellite speakers. That's a lot to say, but in essence, this is a completely wireless system. You don't need to run any cables to the rears or to the subwoofer. It's affordable. It's relatively compact, and it's going to be good for those of you living in tight quarters or who are looking to try out your first 5.1 type system. In this video today, I'm going to give you a look at the product itself, an unboxing. I'm going to talk about the specs in general and then go through each of the individual components, and lastly tell you about my experience using this 5.1 system over the past couple of weeks. Now, if you're new here, welcome to the Phase Reviews YouTube channel. My name is Jordan. If you're a subscriber, thank you for coming back as always. If you're not already, consider hitting the subscribe button, ringing the notification bell, and leaving a comment if there is a budget soundbar or other product you would like me to review on this channel. But enough of that. Let's dive into taking a look at the Majority Everest 5.1 Dolby surround soundbar. Okay, so I've got this giant box on the table just to show you the packaging that it comes in. It looks very professional. It came to me very well protected. Everything inside was safe and sound and wrapped up in a lot of good foam. Normally I do the unboxing live on this channel, but this box is empty right now because I've been using this over the past couple of weeks. And so I'm gonna overlay the unboxing I did a little while ago on top of this while I talk about what comes in the package. I'm gonna set this down here on the floor. So inside of the box, it's kind of separated into two main compartments. Up top, you're gonna have the subwoofer, which is the biggest component of the system. You're also gonna find the two surround speakers as well as their stands. We'll get to those in just a moment. And you'll also find boxes that hold the cables and accessories for the system. You're gonna get a lot of things, cables, a remote, mounting hardware if you wanna put this on the wall. All of that's going to be in one of the little cardboard boxes, and the connections that it comes with are fairly standard. You get an aux cable, you're going to get an optical cable, you're going to get a remote, everything you need to connect this up to your system. We're going to talk about the inputs and outputs in a moment, but as far as the unboxing, that's what comes in the top compartment. Now, in the bottom, which is the longer compartment, you're going to find the soundbar itself, again wrapped in good foam and plastic and well protected. Now, just to cover a few overall general specs, this has a really good build quality. A lot of the components are metal. It has a nice weight to it. It doesn't feel cheap or plasticky or like it's going to break. And a sound system is just going to really sit there. You're not going to be too abusive to it, but it's good to know that if a kid comes by and gives it a whack like my curious toddler does, that it's going to hold up to a little bit of abuse. Now, the biggest spec that I want to highlight on this is that it has a 300 watt total power capacity, I guess you could say, or power handling. The specs are pretty vague. It doesn't say whether that 300 watts is peak or RMS. I'm going to guess peak. It doesn't say how much of that is allocated to the subwoofer or to the soundbar or the surrounds. We really don't have any idea, but just from my experience using this product, I would say that this is probably best for smaller living rooms or as a bedroom setup. I put a 5.1 name brand system in my living room back in November. I've absolutely loved it, and the ability to have this little setup in my bedroom, and we'll talk about why it's unique and good for that in just a moment. But to be able to do that is great. I don't think you're going to be able to do a very large living room or a theater with something like this. It has its limitations for sure. So it's best aimed for a more small space. Now let's start going through the components individually. We're going to start with the soundbar itself, which is kind of the core of everything. And just picking this up off the ground, this is a long soundbar. Right now, it's extra long because I have the surround speakers attached. The surround speakers can live on the soundbar itself if you don't need rear speakers for a certain viewing situation. A lot of people are just watching some TV, nightly news. You don't need the surround sound environment. And because these are battery powered, they can just live on the soundbar and be charged by the soundbar itself. When you have them attached, the surround speakers widen the stereo image and give you a really long soundbar. Now the downside to that is that sitting this in front of the TV, it actually bumps into the stand, and so you can't really scoot it back very much. It's kind of far out. with the surrounds removed, that's not as much of an issue, but keep in mind, you get good stereo separation, but it is fairly big. Now, construction on this, plastic in the back, metal grille, very hefty weight to it, like I said. Around the bottom, you have some rubber feet, so it's not gonna slide around on you. You have the Majority logo right there. See, this is so big, I'm running it into things. And then around on the back, you have mounting hardware if you wanna put this on the wall below your flat screen TV instead of setting it. On the top of the soundbar, you have 4 rubber buttons. If I can get those in the image. This soundbar is so big, it's bumping the sides of the studio. And you've got a power and input selection and a plus, minus, and forward reverse. So that allows you to control a few different functions. Also behind the soundbar is an LED display that lights up when you're using it. It will tell you what channel you're, or what input you're using. And instead of just a colored light, which I've seen on a couple other models, you actually have a text display saying HDMI or optical or aux or whatever input you want to use. Now, speaking of inputs, that's one area where this starts to kind of elevate itself above the cheapest soundbars. The thing that I really like to see here on the back is an HDMI input, specifically HDMI ARC. If you don't know what that is, it allows your TV and your soundbar to communicate with each other so that you can control the soundbar using your TV remote. So you don't have to use the separate remote for this guy if you don't want to. For example, I use an Amazon Fire Stick, and I can just use the one remote to control the Fire Stick, the TV, and the soundbar all at once. It'll turn on when the TV turns on and turn off when the TV turns off, which is super handy. Other inputs around the back, if you can see it, as I bang this into the wall even more. Durable, I say. It's also got USB. It's got an optical. It has an aux in, your typical RCA red and whites, and then it has the line input. Sorry, I have to keep checking just to make sure I get them all because there's a ton on here. The line input is going to be good for connecting like a smart speaker, playing music off of a phone if you still do the cable route, MP3 player, or connecting some sort of external audio device. And then it's powered by your standard DC plug-in. So a lot more options than the cheaper soundbars, and HDMI ARC is a welcome addition, okay? I want to swing this back around. Again, this is pretty big. Now I'm going to overlay some footage of, me attaching and detaching the speakers, but these are the surrounds. We can talk about them next. To remove it, you just grab it and twist and pull off. And to cover up the hole that's left right there, this will charge the speaker, but you don't want that hanging out when the speaker's off. If you're going to keep them off permanently, you can just add one of these little covers here. This goes on the end of the speaker. You just put it in like that and twist, and now it has a nice sleek look on the end of the soundbar. Okay, I'm going to set that off to the side, and let's talk about the rear channels. Also kind of a thick plastic here, metal grille on the front. A single driver inside of there, it looks like. Yeah, single driver, as well as kind of an IR remote. And that's really all that's inside of it. On the bottom, you have your connections, okay? These are going to hook into your surround speaker stands. This is metal, very hefty, good quality. It's heavy enough to keep the speaker secure. And all you have to do with this, just like putting it on the soundbar, is click it into the base and twist, and there you go. You've got a nice rear speaker. It doesn't have mounting points. Actually, I take that back. These little speakers, maybe you could mount on that. I didn't try, honestly. I think it works better on the stands, or you could just rest it on its side or something, but this is a nice polished package. Around the back, there is a power button. These can also be powered on via the remote, and then a DC in. So if you want these to live permanently at the back of your listening area, they do include USB cables with little wall warts, so you can actually plug these in and keep them powered permanently, and you don't have to keep attaching and detaching them. Super nice to have that option. You don't have to rely on battery power if you don't want to. But it's always an option if you don't want to deal with wires. Again, these can be completely wireless. They will communicate with the soundbar via a wireless connection, and they will be battery powered if you want to go that route as well. So these work great. We'll talk about using them in just a moment. Okay, the last component of this system is the subwoofer, okay? And as you can see, it's a pretty compact little unit. It only has a 5 1/4 inch driver, which is nothing to write home about. This is not gonna dig super deep and hit the lowest of notes, but it does the job. And compared to just using, the TV's built-in speakers or a soundbar alone, this will definitely improve the low end, and you'll get a lot more bass response. Movies sound 100% better when using at least some subwoofer, even if it's only 5.25 inches. Okay. Now, there's also a remote in the box. You can check the Amazon listing down below for a picture of that. It's actually living in my nightstand right now because I've been using this a ton. But the remote is very basic. As far as options, the soundbar really just gives you 3 basic EQ modes. But the remote is kind of run-of-the-mill cheap Chinese remote. Okay, so let me talk about my usage experience. I'm not going to do a sound demo in this. I just can't find any royalty-free content that it's going to be good enough. And then by the time it goes through my microphone and my recording device and the microphone and the camera, uploaded, encoded, compressed, all that stuff, you're not going to get a true example. And you can't even get a surround experience via YouTube. I don't have recording capacity for that. So forego the sound demo, and let me just tell you about things you should keep in mind when considering a system like this. It is budget, okay? It is 100% going to improve the quality of your playback over your TV speakers, and definitely over just a soundbar alone. I would choose this over a soundbar from a known brand any day, because that subwoofer is definitely going to add the low end, and the surround speakers are true surround sound. Playing content off of Netflix or Amazon Prime in 5.1, the rear channels are discrete. They have their own sounds. You hear cars, helicopters, gunshots back there that are not in the front channel. It's not just extracting that data. It is a true 5.1 surround image. I even ran the Netflix test patterns demo to check the channels, and they all are discrete, which is good. Now, the sound quality, again, is decent. It's an improvement. Now, the one area where this is going to fall short is the subwoofer. It's only 5.25 inches, and when you try to push it very hard, it just starts to fall flat. It gets a little floppy. Some people say subwoofer fart. You can hear the kind of the movement of the cone as it tries to get the lowest notes, and it's not that great. If you're listening at moderate levels, no issue there. But if you're trying to recreate a cinema experience and get pretty decently loud in your room, the subwoofer is going to be the weak point for sure. So if you're watching a war movie or a Michael Bay, you're going to hear a lot of that subwoofer movement, and so that's one grief that I have with this product. Now, with that being said, most content is going to sound much improved with this system. There also is one other thing that I wanted to highlight, which is this high-pitched whine, kind of like a white noise, like background noise, the noise floor. You can hear that during quiet scenes, especially when it goes from loud to quiet and the rear speakers turn on, or when you first boot the system up, you can hear this noise in the back. Now, once the movie's going, you're not really gonna focus on this very much, but I kind of have sensitive ears and I pick up on these things, and there's definitely some sort of kind of powered on noise in the rear speakers, but it's not that big of a deal. If you're not nitpicky like me, you probably won't pick it up. So really, when evaluating a system like this Majority Everest 5.1 wireless soundbar, it's going to come down to a few things. Do you want the best sound quality, but at the cost of only having to use, a soundbar, like a name brand soundbar, which the price of this, you can go buy something at Best Buy and you just get, a small soundbar? Or do you want to have a lot of features, but at the cost of some of the sound quality? All right. For the average person, I think the ability to have true 5.1 with a subwoofer is going to outweigh, a little increase in clarity any day. The audiophiles may not agree, but I think some people are just looking to kind of experience 5.1, and this is a good option. I think there's something special about having audio behind you or to the sides of you, and to have that more full low end. And so if I had a couple $100 to spare and I needed to choose between name brand soundbar and this guy, I would choose this every time, just because you get that cool 5.1 experience. Now, other pros of this guy are going to be the detachable rear surrounds that are completely wireless and battery, the wireless subwoofer. The only cable you need for the subwoofer is for power. Other than that, you don't have to connect it to the soundbar. And on the whole, this is a winner in my eyes. I don't think you can do, there's not many other options for true wireless battery powered 5.1 at this price point. So if you want to pick up the Majority Everest system, you can find a link down in the description. Buy through there, support the channel. I would of course love you for it. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any videos in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.